Almost a year after the announcement of demonetisation, the ripples are still being felt by the Reserve Bank of India as it struggles day and night to process the demonetised notes. Meanwhile, the opposition gears up for the first anniversary of the monetary policy, calling it a black day, and it is all set to hold protest across the country on the ill effects of demonetisation. Well, of course, the Congress upping the ante on the government's demonetisation decision. But more importantly, we're seeing how even the RBI now is grappling with ensuring that it's still processing the demonetised notes. A year on, almost 99% of the 500 and 1,000 rupees demonetised notes have returned. But 365 days later, an RTI now reveals that the demonetisation notes are still being processed by the Reserve Bank of India ahead of the opposition's Black Day. Remember, 8th of November is going to be the first anniversary of the government's demonetisation initiative, and certainly the Congress and other parties, they're upping the ante, calling it a black day and raising their concerns with as far as demonetisation is concerned. But more importantly, a year after demonetisation decision, the RBI is still processing demonetised notes. Going across to Hina Gambhir now, joining us on the phone line for more details on this. Hina, at a time when the opposition is trading their guns at the government's demonetisation decision, RTI now revealing that the Reserve Bank of India is still processing demonetised notes a year after.
Well, absolutely. It's going to be 1 year ever since demonetisation was announced, and we are now given to understand that RBI is still verifying the returned notes. In fact, it took RBI a lot of time to even tell us the total currency that has come back into the system post-demonetisation, because of which the government had to face a lot of criticism. And nearly a year after Prime Minister Modi announced demo, the 500 and 1,000 rupee bills that were returned to the banks are still being processed in all earnest through a sophisticated currency verification system. This is what the RBI has now said to an RTI query. In fact, we are given to understand that the central bank, RBI, has processed about 1,134 crore pieces of 500 rupee notes and 524 crore pieces of 1,000 rupee notes which were junked during demonetization. So, this is something which is definitely a cause of concern, but also don't forget the volume of currency that we are talking about that actually came back into the system.
But also this is coming at a point when earlier we've seen how the entire argument as far as the returning 99% of the 500 and 1,000 rupee notes that have been returned was that the fact that only 1% of it was black money, while the entire plan of demonetisation was to bring in as much and curb as much of black money as possible. Has that aim even remotely achieved?
Well, what the government had to say on that issue was that all the money, the 99% of the total demonetized currency that you're talking about that came back into the system is not legal or legitimate money. In fact, that is something which is under investigation now, because people did manage to open a number of accounts and deposit their black money that they had, thinking that nobody will be able to find out. But that's exactly what the Income Tax Department is now working on. In fact, the total currency that has come back into the system, that's what the government has been saying repeatedly. It doesn't mean that all that is white money. It includes black money as well, and all these people, all the companies who open, people who open shell companies to convert their black money into white via demonetization, they're all under investigation, they're all under the scanner, and of course action will be taken against those. But of course it's going to be a long process, and it is going to take a lot of time before we find out as to what was the total amount of black money that was there in the system that came back into the system post demonetization.